So Rabbi Nachman teaches us the following, that the angel, after fighting with Yaakov, is requested to bless Yaakov. Yeah, they have a fight. Yaakov is victorious, and then Yaakov says, bless me. And the angel blesses him. So what is the blessing? What is the blessing that was given? It doesn't really specify, in fact, what the blessing was. It just says, V'yivarech oisei sham, that he was blessed there. So he says like this, Ikar simchah, she'achiyas shel Yisrael, hu al yidei nukudas ha'emesh b'leiv ish Yisrael. You know what it was? The greatest blessing is the blessing of simchah, is to be happy, to be in a space of joy. And he says that the chiyus that a person has in their life comes from a space of joy. If a person doesn't have the basic level of happiness that is necessary, then they don't have energy. If a person is constantly in a space of atzvus, God forbid, a state of negativity, then they don't have energy. So if you think about one of the most important things to serve Hashem is obviously the energy to do so. But the energy to do so is the happiness that comes prior to it. So the blessing that we see that is given to Yaakov is the blessing of happiness. And he writes that comes from something deeper, which is referred to as the point of truth in the heart of a Jew. What does that mean? The point of truth in the heart of a Jew, which means what's truth? Truth is obviously the opposite of falsehood. And the aspect of falsehood can sometimes come into a person's life and create disruption and create a misperception and create confusion. And the state of truth that's in a person's heart is to know reality, to know what is, to really recognize that there's not really much of a reason to not take life and grasp life to its fullest, to be happy. Obviously everyone has circumstances and things that they're concerned about or stressed with or, anxious about. So that what he's saying here is the nekudas emes, this state of this point of truth in a person's heart, is able to see through all of the faff, able to see through all of the transience of this world and realize that intrinsically we are happy and we are full and we have to hold on to that. V'nafshi yedas moed kedushas emunas Yisrael. Hashem. It says that the soul of a person knows. It knows that we have the capacity to be happy, no matter what. It's not like, I'm going on holiday, so now I'm going to be happy, or I'm going to, finally finish this off, so I'm going to be happy. There's no reason to be happy. Happiness is something that our soul knows. It's just it's the default factory setting. We go into life when we start messing with the settings. My car, the kids were messing with the buttons, and it, turned all of the writing into German. So maybe that's the default setting of a Mercedes. That's the German default. But the default of a Jew is happiness. That's the default of a Jew is happiness. It's to be b'simcha, and that simcha is then able to give light to energy to serve Hashem. So now, whoever you are and whatever you're going through, if you remember, you know what? I actually have this innate state of being. I have this innate state of joy by virtue of being from the offspring of Israel. And Hashem has separated me at my core like oil and water. I have a separate energy that I don't need to fall into sadness. Then he says, all you need to do is have that meditation. If you find yourself being sad, God forbid, for whatever reason, you say to yourself, 1 second, I know that the circumstance is like this, or maybe it's not even a circumstance, it's just an emotion that a person is feeling for whatever reason. A person has to remind themselves, I am from the Zera Yisrael. I come from the Jewish people, and my essence, my truth, is something that I've gotten from this blessing that Yaakov was given, the bracha of simcha, and I have that at my core. Va'alkein, ikar simchu b'chines kedushas Yaakov, b'chines Yaakov Sameach Yisrael. Yaakov b'chines emes ki yadua. Again, what is the attribute of Yaakov? What? Tiferes, which is splendor, and what? Emes, truth. Yeah, Yaakov is ish emes, is the man of truth. And what's ultimate truth? Ultimate truth is happiness. That is what ultimate truth is. That is the only truth that exists in this world. Is ultimate truth is happiness. Shemeshurash b'kol echad miyisrael shalidei zeh ikar simcha. Aval abal dava miskari al zeh b'yoyse. Now, there is a lot of fighting regarding this reality. It says that the angel of Esav comes to disrupt this truth. It comes to try and fight this truth. It comes to try and weaken this truth. What does it do? It got Yaakov to come over the river. Why? Why did he go over the river? Pachim katanim. It says he had to go and find some small jars that he left behind. And he writes that the two things that the Yetzer Hara tries to do is, number one, it makes you worry about money. It makes you worry about parnasa. And it makes you worry about that space. And that worry creates sadness, it creates fear. And what else does it do is we see that it caused Yaakov to be alone. He was left alone. So this feeling of aloneness, this feeling of loneliness. And then what happens is it drew him into a space of depression. So the fear and the worry and the feeling alone then led to a state of feeling negative and feeling sad and feeling low. And not only that, you'll notice, he writes, especially now that Yaakov was running away with his family and he was heading to Eretz Yisrael and he was coming into a space of holiness, that's particularly when the Yetzer Hara strikes with negativity and sadness and depression. It hits a person, God forbid, when they're on their journey to do something healthy and to do something that's positive. I don't know if you ever feel this, when you're about to, it's just a very basic and very low-level example. But before a person goes to have to gym, they have to, do some exercise or activity. Suddenly your body starts to feel, doesn't have energy anymore, and I'm not really feeling like doing that right now. No, that's exactly the point. You're about to do something positive, so the body gets heavy. Same too when it comes to learning Torah, when it comes to doing an act of chesed or engaging in something positive. Suddenly, where did it come from? The angel of Esav comes to strike a person and makes them feel low and makes them feel heavy and makes them feel, I'm not really feeling like doing this anymore. This is very dangerous, and understand the way that it functions. This is the main fight. When we talk about the fight that was happening between Esav and Yaakov, and the angel of Esav and Yaakov, this was the fight. It was a fight around happiness versus depression, heaviness versus lightness. And every generation fights with the same issue. But realize this: nothing can stand in the way of Yaakov's emes, of Yaakov's truth that is found in our hearts. Kihu kadosh mo befrad b'kedushas habris ve'ein ha'atzvos she'ikaroi nimshach me'pagam ha'pris shum achiza boy. Rak ika melchama ba'avu yoytzi yerech Yaakov shem nefoshes aktonos b'chines regalim shebeim ikar achizas atzvos. So now, at our core, it's saying, or what he's saying, is nothing can strike us. But what happens is, where did the angel end up being able to strike us? At the Yerech. Yeah, he struck us at the thigh. And the thigh, or the sciatic nerve, or the thigh, he says, is if you think about what the leg is, what is the leg? What? It's movement, yeah. So it's an interesting thing, so it disables a person from moving. Interestingly, I read a book called The Pocket Therapist, a really beautiful book. And one of the pieces of advice that's given there to counter depression and negativity is movement. So once a person is moving 100%. And they're engaging, then suddenly, wow, what happened? I was feeling like I went for a walk. I really didn't feel like it. Now I'm feeling a bit better. Wow, what happened? Just a simple state of movement. But on the other hand, the flip factor is that the negativity tries to disable movement, and it tries to disable going forward. And we know that the legs on a Kabbalistic level represent the two different energies of Hoid and Netzach. Hoid is humility. It's able to say I'm present in my life and I'm able to appreciate the circumstances that I have, and I'm able to say Yesh li kol, I have everything. As opposed to Esav, who says Yesh li rav, I need more. I always have this state of more mindset. So that's the first energy of Hoid. And Netzach is nothing can stop me. I can always keep on going. As Rocky Balboa said, that it's not about how hard you hit, but about how hard you get hit and keep on going. And that's essentially Netzach, essentially the ability to carry on going and moving. So the Yetzer Hara tries to strike a person in those two spaces. What a person does, and listen to how he refers to a tzaddik. A tzaddik is a righteous person. What is the weapon of a righteous person? Simcha. Happiness. Happiness that he draws in from a das elyon, from a higher keter elyon, from the upper crown, which is this supernal space which transcends all, which is intrinsic to the soul, it's intrinsic to godliness, it's the fabric of reality. And thus, when a person draws from that energy, they're able to reinfuse it into all of the other elements of themselves, or a simcha eleim kolkach afcho kol yaakov v'anacha lesimcha, until they're able to transform all of those spaces of blockage back into a space of simcha, which is really this process that we're trying to. It's an unbelievable concept that our job and our role as Jews is to draw in simcha into fallen spaces. Now, not only simcha into fallen spaces of self, but simcha into fallen spaces of other people. When you see someone around you that looks despondent, or that looks sad, or that looks downtrodden, our job, that tzaddik's job, is to come in and uplift them and give them simcha and give them hope and give them love. V'yoses atzman l'sameach es nafsham v'tachlis shleimus es simcha b'mat nekudasam atoivel shebegdushas yehudusam. V'alidei zeh machnim es heichele tmuros kol kach ad shem ba'atzmam uchrochim nachzir lohoitzi l'hashev es ha'kedusha kol inotzoitzos ha'kedoshim shebeneim. Shalidei zeh tiskadel kedushas es simcha b'yoser ad shoylem adrega l'drega ad b'shabam be'emes etachlis makor simcha b'chnis v'simchas oilam al roisham. וזה בחינת מה שיעקב הכריע לשרוי של עשיו עצמו להוידס לו על הברוכos. And this is essentially what was transpiring, that if you look at the end, the mechanism of war against Yaakov, the exact angel that ended up fighting against Yaakov, the angel that was trying to cause negativity and depression, was the exact angel that ended up blessing him with the blessing of happiness. It's a crazy concept, which I'll explain in one moment, and then you ask your question, which we're seeing from this, that if we, number one, understand that this reality exists where there is this constant back and forth, that the Yetzer Hara tries to come and make a person sad and negative and heavy, and our job is to enliven that space, to recognize its tools and its weapon of war, and to be able to utilize our innate weapon of war, which is our state of happiness, which comes from Yaakov. When we fight that battle and we come in and say, you know what, even though I'm feeling like this, I'm going to push myself to carry on. I'm going to push myself to be happy. I'm going to understand that my innate state is happiness. That itself is then the source of even further happiness, where a person has context and they have an understanding of what the playing field of life is. That itself is a source of happiness. So please God, Hashem should bless us all with this Nakudas Emes, this point of truth that exists in all of us, and realize that any form of despondency or any form of negativity or sadness is really the ultimate sheker, it's the ultimate lie of life, and that we should be able to be misgaber, we should be able to overcome that in every reality. Yes, Errol, you want to say something? Ask something.
Thank you, folks.
You're
You're on the pnimis.
Where are you going?
I've got a flight to